Greetings. Today's professional learning focuses on the Social Studies Revised Standards, and it is entitled Shift is Happening. I am Tiffany McCoy Thomas, the Social Studies Content Supervisor for the East Baton Rouge Parish Public School System, here today to talk to you about what we can expect and what are some things that you might be able to do right now in preparation for the shift. Remember, as a content team, we're here to answer your questions and provide models while we work to use research-based best practices to ensure best first instruction for all of our learners every day. We live in the teaching and learning capacity where we are supporting teaching and learning through building cultures, two-way communications, fostering positive relationships and trust so that we can ensure when it comes to text, task, and talk, our learners are accountable, owning their learning, and they are engaged. As it pertains to the district's 6 keys to success, we are engaged in making sure that students enter third grade at or above grade level. This is why kindergarten, first, and second grade students are required to have 30 minutes of social studies instruction every day. We are planning and continue to work to ensure that middle school students have those successful transitions, that we are offering increased opportunities for learners to engage and earn high school credit. We want to accelerate for our high schools the number of students that are earning credit towards college that are more aligned to social studies content, as well as ensuring that those students pursuing both TOPS and industry-based certifications are able to contribute to a global economy. Our big rocks within the Division of Education focus on high-level questions. We want students in that Webb's depth of knowledge at the extending and strategic levels. We want tasks that require students to go beyond just selecting the response, but really having to think and firm up their answers while they are sharing with their peers, engaged in those conversations. We want them to get up and move, engaging in the kind of work that promotes speaking, listening, writing, debating, the critical thinking, and the inquiry-based learning that we should see in social studies. Our agenda for the day here is very brief. Our leader learning objectives, we're going to look at what the shifts entail. What are those key shifts within each grade band? We're going to talk about resources. There's a sample activity that you'll be able to take from this PD, and you'll be able to email us if you have any questions or concerns. So our learning objectives for today are to make sure that we identify and analyze the shifts in the standards, that we can look at the revised standards as content leaders and principals and teachers and evaluate the sources and the connections. And you will have an opportunity to develop a claim and a counterclaim, just because we want you to understand the lift, the instructional lift that will be on our students and on our teachers this year. So this is an opportunity to do a standards crosswalk. Here, you're going to be able to look at the standards. You'll be able to open up the third grade, seventh grade, and sixth grade. We just chose one from elementary, middle, and high. And we want you to take some opportunity to consider what are 2 or 3 really big changes that you see in these grade levels, and we want you to write down what those are. This is a really important activity because understanding the crosswalk is critical to knowing what has changed and what we are going to have to do now. So we want you to pause this video, take 5 minutes, select one of these frameworks, and look at it and see what has changed at that grade level. And we'll be back in just a moment. Now that you've had the opportunity to look at it, hopefully you see some changing has been significant. That's why the title of this session is Shift is happening. Here you can see the social studies course progression. So there have been some significant changes. Kindergarten will look at life, home, and school. It has the fewest changes, but students at this level will still have to identify primary and secondary sources, something they've not had to do before. In first grade, students are going to look at content that was in the third grade, that is Louisiana culture and Louisiana geography. Second grade students are going to look at United States history, just an overview, preparing them for third grade, where they get a much more in-depth look at the American story through people, places, and papers. I would call it a survey of American history. Fourth and fifth grade are really significant changes. Why? Because fourth grade used to be U.S. history. Fifth grade, we looked a little bit at exploration and these time periods, but now fourth and fifth grade students are going to own ancient world history, the content that was taught in sixth grade. Fourth graders will look at the first half of the ancient world, so the early humans, the establishment of civilizations, the establishment of democracy. And in fifth grade, they'll look at the medieval periods through the era of the modern world. Sixth, seventh, and eighth grade will now become United States history with Louisiana history folded in. There will no longer be a standalone eighth grade Louisiana history course. These courses will be, if you consider a pie, slices of time in the timeline. And then sixth grade focuses on what the country looked like during this time period, what's going on with Louisiana in this time period. The same for seventh and eighth grade at different time periods, as you can see here. Civics has a significant change as it pertains to looking at the Constitution and views. And of course, U.S. history will still cover 1776 to 2008, as you know, because sixth, seventh, and eighth grade will lay a much more solid foundation for history and civic education. Of course, with revised standards, there will be revisions in state assessments. What we know about those state assessments are currently that the 22-23 year third through eighth assessments are going to be the same as is the LEAP 2025 for high school. In 23-24, this is going to be field test of the new assessments, and that will include the field test for civics. And then in the 24 and 25 year, the third through eighth grade assessments will be based on the revised standards, and the new assessment for high school will be civics. So, what has really changed? What is all the shifting about? As I stated, kindergarten has the fewest changes. However, they must now differentiate between primary and secondary sources. In the first grade, students are going to look at cause and effect relationships. First and second graders are going to have to construct claims. And unique to second grade, they will not only have to construct those claims, they will have to identify, they will have to support it with reasoning. So, really stepping up the rigor around elementary, which, as you can see, if you didn't understand before, this is absolutely why instruction for K1 and 2 has to occur every day. They're laying the foundation for the skills and the practices that are going to be so very important when we get into third grade. Our third through fifth grade, again, in the third grade, they're going to look at major events in U.S. history, the democracy, monarchies, functions of the Declaration of Independence, U.S. Constitution. In fourth grade, the geography, world, religions, agricultural revolution, characteristics of civilization. And then in fifth grade, the indigenous North American cultures, Aztec, Incan civilizations, as well as feudalism. Third through fifth grade students will not only develop claims, but they are now going to begin describing counterclaims. What is the opposing view? So, again, a really heavy lift. for our third, fourth, and fifth graders, and something that is completely new for them. I want to note here that the state has said there will not be companion documents. They have shared with us that the standards have been written so explicitly that there isn't a need for a companion document. There are no more essential and ancillary GLEs. They're all written based on the content knowledge and the disciplinary skill and practice as an integrated standard to ensure that students are practicing as they're learning. In 6th through 8th grade, again, the major shift is that all of these grade bands will focus on the United States history. 6th grade will look at 1580 to 1791. 7th grade will look at 1791 to 1877. And the 8th grade will look at 1877 to 2008. They will have to develop claims, counterclaims, identify evidence, demonstrate reasoning. These learners will not only look at multiple sources, they will also look at multiple accounts. And here is a very significant call out we don't want you to miss. Students are going to have to explain how the availability of sources has affected the historical interpretation. In civics, again, the biggest call out here is that they're going to look at interpretations of founding documents. So again, claims, counterclaims are now going to be in high schools with multiple sources and accounts, and students are also in high school for civics, U.S. history, as well as world geography and world history, since it will be a new practice, look at how the availability of sources affects the historical interpretation. What resources will be available to teachers, to leaders, to us as a district? Right now, we do have the standards. We have draft course frameworks. The state is working to release by topic. So right now, we have the unit frameworks and we've got topic 1, except for kindergarten, first, and second grade. We also have the core knowledge teacher guides to support learning. They are recommending the use of 64 parishes. We have primary source sets, primary source guides. The state has entered a partnership with Bayou Bridges. And I want to make this clear. The intent of Bayou Bridges will be to provide a curriculum for kindergarten through 8th grade. I'm going to share just right here. What this is going to mean is that there would be readers, there would be primary source documents, slideshows, teachers would have resources. It would be a full curriculum. So we're super excited about Bayou Bridges, but I'm showing you the calendar here. As you can see, by rolling it out unit by unit, Bayou Bridges will not be available probably until the 24-25 school year. Don't be alarmed. The content team is watching and working very carefully. If the state releases the first parts of Bayou Bridges and we see that based on what has been released, we can begin to use these resources, we absolutely will. We are going to do what is needful to support teachers in the classroom, to support instruction. So we are developing the scope and sequence based on the framework. We are going to use the sources that they are providing, the key terms, which is a new call out that's really nice to build academic, that tier 3 vocabulary for learners. We're also going to have use of the DBQ project online, which is found in Clever. We will have studies weekly for grades 3, 4, and 5. They have not yet aligned their resources for K1 and 2, so it is unlikely that we will have studies weekly for grades K1 and 2 in the 23-24 school year. We will have teacher-created materials and the Achieve 3000 resources. Again, Bayou Bridges is coming. We are excited. We are working, but this is not finalized. And as you can see, this will not be final for some time. So this is another opportunity for you in this professional learning session to do some practice. Claims and counterclaims are absolutely new to our school system, our state. Now, we've had to do counterclaims, but never in social studies unless you were taking an AP or a DE course or your teacher was doing an extension activity, which is amazing. We are working with ELA to see when they introduce counterclaims. So we want you to understand as a school teacher, as a school leader, just what students are going to be expected to do. So we've shared the third, the seventh, and the civics frameworks for you. Here, we're also providing a tool that you can use to create a claim and a counterclaim. This is, though a recorded session, it is one where we really want you to take the time in that asynchronous manner to practice on your own. So we want you to select this tool and we want you to go through the process of creating a claim and a counter claim just so you can understand how students are going to experience this shift. We also want you, based on this experience, to document or write down what supports do you think will be necessary for teaching. It is our hope to have this as a live session when we go out to schools as well as on a PD day. We're doing it now so that teachers can practice, leaders can practice, and you can ask us questions and give us the requisite feedback so that we can integrate that into the planning. So we're going to take about another 5 to 7 minutes, pause the video where you are right now, and engage in this instructional practice of how you can evaluate the sources. If you're picking third grade, the sources are there. There's a video for you to watch. What are those sources saying? What are the connections amongst those sources? And then you're going to be answering that supporting question. So let's take a look before we ask you to actually pause. So here's third grade. You're going to be answering the supporting question. Here are the sources that you can use. The same is true of seventh grade and civics. So you will be answering the supporting question. That's what you're going to develop your claim based on. That's also where you're going to develop your counterclaim. And don't forget, this is the tool that you will use. So we are going to ask you to stop the video here. Take about 5 to 7 minutes and engage in this activity. Remember, you only have to pick one of the grade levels using the sources and the materials and creating that claim, the counterclaim. And if you have chosen seventh grade or civics, we also want you to just start thinking about how the availability of those sources, knowing what has been used, thinking about what could be used, how has that affected the historical interpretations? Again, the intent is to understand the knowledge demands that are going to be placed on our learners. So go ahead and pause the video, take 5 to 7 minutes to complete the activity, and then you'll come back to us. So how was it? On a scale of history, where are you finding yourself right now? Are you this U.S. Constitution where it's all new and you're feeling uncertain? Are you this March where you're suiting up because it's time for battle? Are you from the civil rights picture here where you feel like it's about time? Are you Rosie the Riveter? Count me in so you can step up and do your part? Are you the atomic bomb and you just feel like this is way too explosive? Or are you ready to be the man on the moon and excited to lead social studies where no man has gone before? Hopefully, no matter where you fall on the scale of history, you understand that what's really happened within the revised standards is the level of rigor has been increased, the knowledge demands have been increased, and there's a more sound integration of literacy practices in the standards to really support our learners in their reading and then their capacity to perform. So you may be going in circles, and if that's the case, it really is okay. We are here to help. Make sure that you email us any questions you may have, any concerns that you may have, because you're not going to go in circles for long. We're going to do this arm in arm and go down this path. Again, you can give us feedback here. You can go to our website. You can email us directly if you have any questions. As always, it is a pleasure to serve and bring this professional learning opportunity to you. Happy teaching and learning.